professional serving community, talkradio.nyc.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the A Train to Sedona broadcast. I'm Linda Marsanico. The A Train to Sedona is also the name of a book I wrote, a memoir about my journey to love and compassion, where I share my failures, my successes, in the hope that my journey will inspire yours. You can purchase a signed copy on my website at lindamarsanico.com on Buy the Book page, also at retail and bookstores. Now, also, I have a free gift for you. I call it the cheat sheet for high vibration living, a series of 7 exercises designed to help you keep your energy in the present moment and very high in vibration. For example, one of the exercises celebrates the divinely inspired violet light to bring it over your body to nourish and heal you and calm you. An essential item for your toolkit in today's very chaotic world. And you can download a copy of this on my website at lindamarsanico.com. I have 2 disclaimers. The first is that this broadcast does not establish a professional relationship. And the second is that the opinions expressed here do not necessarily represent Talk Radio New York City. Today, as my guest, I welcome Rebecca Hillegeist. Rebecca is a trauma-informed systems thinker, energy practitioner, and community psychology professional with over 20 years of experience in business, leadership, well-being, and metaphysics. Rebecca serves on the board of directors for an International Women's Association, their Atlanta chapter, and she curates intentional, community-centered events for Kate Spade New York. She blends ancient Hermetic wisdom and trauma science to build healing-centered systems that honor our shared humanity. As a certified quantum energy practitioner, Reiki Master, and Master Life Coach, Rebecca is committed to helping communities live, work, play, and thrive. Her mission is to partner with leaders at all levels to co-create trauma-responsive, dignity-driven structures where people and communities can truly flourish. Welcome to the show, Rebecca. Now you have to unmute yourself.
Okay, I'm unmuted. Hi.
So welcome. You're in Atlanta.
Yes.
And we were talking about the weather, that it's kind of, I don't know, it's pleasant here. Is it humid, did you say there?
It is. It's about 76 degrees and it feels about 90.
Oh.
Yeah. So it's like a sauna, like we were saying. Yeah.
So Rebecca, my first question is, what is the role of spirituality in your life?
I think spirituality is life. I think it's one and the same. I feel like that's part of what we have forgotten. We are spiritual beings having a human experience and not the other way around. I think it's learning to merge the two. I think that's the true, some people would call it twin flame journey. I feel like adding the spirituality to the human journey, that is the true twin flame. That's been my experience with it anyway.
A true integration of both.
Absolutely. The male female aspect, the doer and the receiver.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you do a lot with women in community.
Yes.
You encourage women to be in community. Please tell us more about this.
I'm always going to go draw from my experience because that's what I know. But as a woman, I feel like if we start with women, then we're going to heal everything. I think, like we were saying before the podcast, Mother Earth, she's tired. She's been overlooked. And I think that that's the voice of the woman. We're tired. We've been overlooked. And I think if we just start there and just pinpoint the women and support the women, give the women the voice, all of that, then everything will take care of itself. Because I really feel like if you pour into a woman and we're full, we can water the world. And then if you can get 2 or 3 or more of us together, oh my gosh, we could do anything and everything. But it starts with the woman. And so that's always been my, I didn't have that. So then I did everything in my power to find that and still couldn't find that. So then I decided, you know what, I probably just need to get involved with some women and start there, give women what I didn't have.
And what inspired you to take that route?
I would say my God self. I inspire myself, but I know it comes from a spiritual connection. It's, when I came to that realization that I'm my own twin flame, I'm my own inspiration, but that's where it comes from. That's what inspires me. I wake up, well, and I've done this for years. I'd say since probably 1998. I was a Dale Carnegie coach. And so I started journaling way back when. So I'll be 52 this year. And so I go to bed with questions and expect answers. And so that's that inspiration that I have cultivated within myself.
I too go to bed with a question or a request, really. Please, thank you for healing me and teaching me. And when there's a specific something that I'm concerned about or that's high on my mind, I ask for guidance as I sleep. We have all those hours to be guided and helped to receive very good, I don't want to say feedback, but wisdom. It's a whole lot of wisdom that comes through.
I think feedback is a great word, just because, I mean, we are receivers. That's the thing. We're magnetic. We can receive, but we can also transmit.
Yes.
So
We're electromagnetic. Yeah.
exactly. So feedback, I think that's a great word, especially in the AI generation world. I mean, we're computers. We're very intelligent, and to go to sleep and gain some knowledge, feedback, why not?
Okay. So you say, and I know this intimately, that women need support. What kind of support, Rebecca?
I think we just need to be heard. I think for so long we've held things in. We weren't allowed to say, what we really feel. I think we're just now coming into a generation of being able to talk about taboo things. And it's really not that taboo. I think that every culture goes through everything. I don't think race has anything to do with it anymore. When you really get into the different races and the different cultures, we all, as women, go through the same thing. We have the same struggles. We want to be heard. We want to be seen. We want to, just be. I mean, I think for the most part, we have to do so much. We've got so much on our to-do list, and we got so many people that we need to take care of. But who takes care of us? Nobody taught me how to take care of myself. I had to figure that out through struggle, and then realize, put my mask on first. Nobody told me that. No woman in my life showed me that. It was always survival. This is what you do. This is what's expected, so to take care of ourselves first and what that looks like, and what is self-care, what is, to get back to your question, but it's that to be seen, to be heard, not to fix things, just to listen, let the tears fall, and to know that, hey, just because we cry and our makeup is running doesn't mean that something's wrong. We just we need to just have a breath for a minute, have a tear for a few minutes, and we're good. We're not crazy. We're not broken. We have emotions, and it's okay. It's okay not to be okay sometimes.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
And how does the fact that women need to be heard these days, how does that figure into community? How do you create that space for women in community?
I'm a good listener. So listening, that's where I always start, is listen. Every community seems to be different. And I say community, but it could be a business, it could be a church, it could be a family, it could be girlfriends. Community is community. Any place or avenue that women come and just want to be. It could be 2 or 3 people, but it could be 300 people. That
Mhm,
to me is a community. And anything more than me is a community. And
mhm.
so I always start with listening. What does each community need? But a lot of times women don't know what they need. And so I'm learning more and more because of my journey. I know exactly what women need. Um, we need clothes that fit. We need food that's healthy. We do need some makeup. We like that. We like to look pretty. We like for our outward, and that's, the Kate Spade part is, it's fun, it's flirty, it's,
Yeah.
I think all women desire that, to be seen, to stand out a little bit. Um, and so each community, depending on where it is, yeah, I draw from the Kate Spade stuff just because that's what I like. I'm like, oh,
Mhm.
this clothes is, hot pink and polka dot, and who doesn't like a good rose on a shoe? Some
It's so
champagne.
feminine. Yeah.
Exactly, fun and flirty, and just to look pretty and to smell pretty, and you know, I think everybody wants that little bit of extra. Um,
So in community, you provide a space for women to speak. And I think that if I remember when I didn't know what I wanted, and so I had to go about to do that. And we are here to inspire women to
mhm.
investigate
Yes.
what it is that they do want. And in my writings, I came across a series of questions that I developed. So since we're raised to take care of others, I thought, in making a decision, yes or no, do I wish to? Do I want to? Can I emotionally and financially afford to say yes or no? And in my
Mhm.
heart, does it have integrity for me, this decision I'm making? And is
Yes.
this consistent with the person I wish to become? And in
Mhm.
answering those questions, I got to understand, and I've helped my clients to understand what they want, what they need. It's a first step after becoming aware that we want to investigate more. We want our voices to be heard.
Mhm. Mhm.
So we need to learn what it is that we really need and what it is that we really want. So then we can put the
Mhm.
energy. Buddha says, what you focus on, how does Buddha put it? What you focus on, you become. What you think, you attract. Oh, it's a beautiful quote. I'll have to get after. I'm going to say it right now, since I have everybody hanging on. I don't want to misquote my dear friend. Let's see. Let's see over here. Buddha, what you think you become, what you feel you attract, and what you imagine you create.
Mm.
So when we know what we need, then we can go about
Mhm.
listening to what Buddha says.
Yeah.
So I see that we're going to have a commercial break. When we come back, Rebecca, I would like to talk to you about neurodivergence. So
Okay.
listeners, come back and hear our discussion about neurodivergence. We'll be
Okay.
back.
Are you a conscious co creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour Awakening Humanity, Thursdays 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a high-achieving, growth-oriented leader? Are you interested in developing your authentic leadership while creating a healthy, inclusive workplace? Hi, I'm Dr. Mira Brancu, host of The Hard Skills on talkradio.nyc at 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays, where we discuss how leaders develop the hard skills needed to make a greater impact. We interview experts, have live coaching, and tackle these challenges. Listen to The Hard Skills on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the A Train to Sedona. I'm Linda Marsanico with my guest, Rebecca Hillegeist. Rebecca, please unmute yourself. And I have a question. Neurodivergence is only something I started seeing recently, a few years ago, last year, I'm not sure when. So would you tell us how you would define that?
When I think of neurodivergence, it's always around how one processes information. My experience with that is growing up, and I guess you can go back to just birth, from a spiritual standpoint, we know all things. And a baby is closer to source. We come in, we're gung-ho, we have these contracts. Some say, we
Yes.
come in and we're ready to, hit the ground running. And then you've got culture and religion and family, and they just kind of beat that stuff into you. You got to think this way, you got to look this way, you got to sound this way, you can't do these things. And so you're kind of forced into this little box. Well, experience tells me that when you come in, and this from a soul level, I know this is my last lifetime. I know that I've cultivated and I've remembered, and now I have to turn around and teach. And so experience shows me that when you unlearn culture and religion and ancestry and all these things, then your points of view grow to a field of view. So I, Rebecca, no longer have a point of view. I instantly can go into a room with a person, a new place, and I can sense the information and I get a field view of all things. So if you were to come to me as a client and you have a challenge, okay, I can already instantly see all sides of it. So then I can walk you through the different possibilities and be the voice of reason, or a kick in the ass, or a questioner, or, whatever I need in order for you to get it. I can speak from many different voices because I don't have a point. I can see all points. You see?
Fascinating, Rebecca. Absolutely fascinating.
But it came with years of what I consider trauma drama, because I had to learn new things and unlearn all the old things, and then come to so many people want to say you gotta learn, you gotta unlearn and relearn. Well, you can't do it that fast. You have to learn, you have to unlearn, and then you have to rest, and then you have to relearn, then you have to learn some more, and you have to unlearn a bunch, and then you need to rest. But as a single mom and a worker and all these things, I didn't take enough time to rest. So there was a time in my life, probably around 2015, 2016, when my kids didn't need me anymore, that I crashed and had to just, I think I slept probably 2 months straight. Probably not, but I mean, I rented a room from a girlfriend and she gave me sanctuary and I rested like I had never, like I slept more in 2 months than I probably did in 40 years. But it was like a time and I was like, wow, who am I now? You know? So from a neurodivergent standpoint, I'm learning that anybody that's on a spiritual journey, being neurodivergent is the norm. That's more normal than all the other stuff. You see what I'm saying? Because it's not the norm has been you do this, it's this, this family, this culture, this religion, this thing. But that's not the reality of it. You know enough about spirituality to know that the norm is we're all of it. And how do you get to that point? You got to undo all the stuff.
There's a lot of undoing.
Yes.
You're changing it up. You're saying that it's changed up, that neurodivergence is the new reality.
I truly believe that. And the more, because the clients that I've had the most of in the last decade have been former therapists, former doctors, former healers. And I'm saying that from a label standpoint in the world. And they would find me and I would help them realign and realize, hey, no, this is normal. Now let's realign. What is your heart wanting you? And then they would go back into that realm if that's what they truly were feeling in that moment. But most people, especially if you only became a doctor because your daddy was a doctor, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
It's, even from a healer standpoint, I had some clients probably 5 or 6 years ago that, their granddaddy was a medicine man and, so that was their norm. And then they realized, you know what, I think I want to go into broadcasting. You know what I'm saying? So it was like completely opposite of what they were brought up into, but then they were able to see things from a whole big picture point of view instead of one point. And so I believe that we're growing into a time of neurodivergence and that being the norm because, people want to put a label of autism or Asperger's or whatever, people have all kinds of words for it, but I think it is the norm because from a spiritual standpoint, I'm a high level empath. And so I know that if I don't start my day knowing what my energy is and I go to the grocery store and then try to come home and cook, I'm like spider webbing all over the place until I figure out, okay, well, that's the cashier's voice. This is the meat guy's voice. This is you see, and then I have to clean my energy off and then focus back on my hamburgers, As silly as that may sound, that's the truth of it because it is, I think being a empath is a normal thing when you come to the realization of being a spiritual being in a human body. We merge, we have energy fields, we have minds of our own that tap into the ultimate, but then whose voice is this? That's part of the master life coaching that I had to go through because after being a Dale Carnegie coach, I spent 10 months with the high level master coach. And she was like, number one thing I had to do was, who are the top 50 people in your life? Well, at that point, I was a leader in a mega church and I was, volunteering at my kids' school. So I had lots of people in my life. I may have 2 now, but I could easily write down 50 people. And then she was like, month after month, we would have conversations. She's like, I'm not sure that's your voice. Whose voice is that? And I had to identify every single voice. And then I came to the realization, I didn't know my voice. And it was a hard 10 months.
Yes.
I thought I was pretty smart. I had lots of clients. I was making a lot of money at that point. And then I had to undo everything because I was like, wow, I'm teaching something I don't know anything about. That's
Well,
just the book.
it's so important for us to know our voice and to know, meaning to know what's in our heart. Being
Yes. Yep.
heartfelt is really the way to be moving forward in the new norm.
Yes.
That's where we're going, to be
Mhm.
heartfelt. And you mentioned, people being in one profession because their parents may have wanted them to be in that profession or because they fell into it, but
Mhm.
then realize that they love to do something else. And I
Mhm.
think that that's what we need to be doing. We need to be
Yes.
working at something we love, so that we get up in the morning. We want to meet our clients, meet the people that we're going to be interacting with. And that affects our energy, and it affects
Mhm.
all affect each other so much. And when it's
Yep.
the love vibration, it's really where we want to be.
That's right. And I think, especially when you get to that point of knowing that you're a spiritual being having this human experience and knowing the emotion side of it and what lights you up, what gets you up in the morning, that sort of thing. And those things change as we move, get older or, reverse. Some of us are reverse in age. I look younger now than I did 10 years ago. And I'm thinking, I know it's that inside journey. I know it's that cultivation of the spirit because it's, stress and anxiety and all the cultural things that we've bought into. That's what ages us.
Yes.
Um, but to learn, I'm like, gosh, I've been doing life coaching and counseling for over 20 years. It doesn't give me the same charge as it used to. And I'm thinking, I'm having to reevaluate in the last couple of years, like what's it going to look like next? What is it next for me? And that's when I get into the community side of it. And I'm like, wow, it's not that you lose those skills, you transfer those skills into something broader that can meet the needs of a greater span of people. And also to bring a challenge. It got to the point where I could life coach someone and, you know, cook and, if I was doing it online, I could do it in my sleep. And I'm like, this is not healthy. Like, yes, I'm great at it, but it's not challenging me anymore. It may be helping people, but I'm learning that this life, it's not all about you and everybody else. It's about me and what I'm here to learn and what I'm here to cultivate for myself as well. And so to be able to do a little bit of both is it's a very rewarding thing because then I can change my mind. I'm like, oh, today's a Wednesday. What do I want to do on a Wednesday? I
And
don't have to do the same thing all the time.
no, it keeps it fresh. And when we're in the moment, we're more apt to be fresh. We are fresh when we're in the moment.
Yes.
And then we can approach the day like that.
Yes. And, the spirit can move at that point. And I'm learning from, people always ask me what's the difference between a regular coach and a master coach. The master coach part, of course, I've had more paid hours. That's part of it too. But it adds the metaphysical side to it. And it is the knowing that you're a spiritual being. And so for me to operate and then to, have a client come to me, if I'm operating from the spirit side, I'm talking to your higher self.
Mhm.
I'm communing there. So when people say, oh, I don't resonate with that, I'm like, okay, I'm going to write this down, sleep on it. Your higher self will talk to you tomorrow. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
It's not coming from me. You know what I'm saying? And so people, you can get someone to a level faster from that mastery standpoint, just because the ego is not in the way. The client's ego may be, and therefore they may just need to sleep on it for a couple of days and then it'll realign.
It's really when they're ready. It's always when we're ready. We need
Mm-hmm.
to be ready. And when we are, the teacher arrives. This
Yep.
one thing that I read, a woman was walking down the street, a car swerved, a book fell out. She picked it up and it changed her life. So universe is going to be communicating with us in many, many different ways.
In many ways. And I say if a client shows up in my life, they're ready because I don't have a
Ah,
filter. So, I don't advertise for the most part. I don't even know how to do that yet. And so if someone shows up in my life, they obviously are ready for what I have to offer, which is talking from their higher viewpoint, because that's where I talk. I don't know how to talk any other way. So forewarned.
So it is around that time for us to take a break. And when we come back, Rebecca, I'm going to ask you about collective energy and self-sustainability. So listeners have some very interesting concepts when you get back from break.
Were you an essential worker during the pandemic? If you needed to learn stages of epilepsy, did you depend on advocates? Did you use new innovations to cope with mental and neurological issues? Maintaining high quality of life and keeping good mental health are what we all strive for. I'm Frank R. Harrison, host of Frank About Health, and each week top healthcare influencers, professionals, and innovators answer these questions and more. Stay tuned on Thursdays at 5 p.m. on talkradio.nyc, and I will continue to be frank about health with all of you.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays, 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the A Train to Sedona broadcast. I'm Linda Marsanico with my guest, Rebecca Hillegeist. Rebecca, I've posed the question and I'm going to restate it. You talk about collective energy and self-sustainability. Would you share more about that with us?
Okay. So, first of all, I operate from the Hermetic principles: as within, so without; as above, so below. So when I think of, or when I talk about collective energy, I know my energy. So people have to start there. So that's the self-sustainability part. When you know yourself and then you're working with others who know themselves, that's where I'm speaking from. So that's the self-sustainability. So when you partner together in community, you create a new collective energy, okay? And that's what some people would call the new earth, the new communities, that sort of thing. But it has to operate from self-sustainability. So I've worked in city government before. I also have worked with high-level corporate executives in business, knowing those principles, trying to operate from that sort of viewpoint. Okay, hey, can I take these principles into this type of environment? How does it work? It's very challenging. I've had theories over the years and I've written a lot. There are ways that we can go in as self-sustaining hermetic beings into community and, I say, reverse engineer, possibly, but it takes a lot of work. And so there's things that I know that will need to happen in order for, okay, so let's go back to what women need, okay? So and let's say instead of women, let's just say humans in general, okay? Humans need housing, food. There's certain things that humans need to survive, okay? And if you're in a community and all of those needs are being met, then their cup is full and then they can overflow, you see? But if you look at community now, the way it is, needs aren't being met. So everybody's operating from a deficit, okay? So there's a lot of teaching that needs to happen, but I feel as though and this is just my theory, is that if people can learn how to get to that Hermetic principle within themselves, hey, I'm a spiritual being having this human body, and this is what I need, speak up, and then more people will find you, kind of thing, then we can do it. And I don't think it will happen. Some people want to say that it's going to take, 10, 20, 30 more years to get us to that self-sustaining community viewpoint. I don't think it has to take that long. I think that these areas around the country that are called live, work, play, I think that if you can look at it from the viewpoint of who wants to live, work, and play with people who are sick, unhealthy, toxic, it's definitely an internal thing that people need to do first. And then they can go out and build community. But even from a self-sustaining, I see it as within, so without. So like if I go into a community, I know that there's a city that I've worked with, Sandy Springs. Okay. So, it's a public-private partnership. So it's not all government. There's private people. And so they have, the goal is, instead of having to advertise the play part of the area outside, then you communicate with people on the inside, and then you keep all tax dollars inside the city. So to me, that's self-sustaining. You see what I'm saying? But you've got people that understand how city government works, where the money comes from, those sort of things. Is that making sense? Because I'm trying to put it from a self, because everybody has to do their own individual work.
Absolutely.
But then my view goes, okay, well, how do you take that individual work into a community and then let everybody thrive? You know what I'm saying?
It's growing, and it's growing organically, first from within the individuals, and then the individuals who opt into this planned community. So
yes.
the city is in and of itself. What about the state government and the federal government when people have a city like that, a planned community?
I'm not really sure. I mean, the government, my understanding, even big government, live, work, play is a concept that's been in since the 90s. Probably before then. I first heard of a live, work, play community back in 1997. But my viewpoint of then, coming out of a abusive environment was more, who in the world wants to live, work, and play with these people? I want the heck out of here, And so the man that I worked for at that point, he said, my job, and that was part of, him cultivating my skills. He was like, okay, well, your job is to be the person that has to become the person that you want to build the community. You got to become the person you want. If you don't want to live around these people, who are the people that you see in the community 20 years from now? And so I had to go in, and that was part of my cultivation of self, because it was like, okay, I don't like this. I don't like this. And that's when I really started looking into the unlearning of the cultural, religious programming.
That's quite a journey, an uncomfortable journey.
I no doubt. No doubt.
I did hear of a community somewhere in the Northeast, but nothing around play, just that self-sustaining, collecting their own taxes and doing their own thing. But I don't know what it's called and what state it's in, but it did come up in a conversation or in some of my readings. It's a very interesting concept.
Well, I think that it's, that concept has been around. I think that people try to do their own thing. But if you can see the government as there to assist, and if you can look at it as a good thing and not against us, like a lot of people see, because I'm learning that the more I cultivate myself and clean out all of those programs, I see that as, there's some of us that were here that set this up for this time. we're right exactly where we're supposed to be. The timing is perfect. Utilize what's out there. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. How do we utilize what's there? You see what I'm saying? So the possibilities are there. It's always getting, with the right people. And I think that we're just now getting to that point of being able to speak openly about, this spiritual experience that we're having, or this human experience we're having, and, mental health and all of these taboo things that, people have been very uncomfortable talking about. Neurodivergence. Nobody knew about stuff like that, but it's pretty norm now, talking about things.
I think that my experience with myself and my clients, as we shift and let go of what doesn't serve us, the bureaucracies and parental guidelines that don't fit anymore, as we let those go, our energy shifts, and people, the energy attracts people of similar energy.
Yes.
Going with the flow. And I remember, I've told this to a number of people. I would say, I don't know this person, or I don't know this person. How will I get to where I want to go? And I realized that God knows everyone, right? So that when the energy is right, the teacher appears, the guru, although I really think that we are our own gurus.
Yes.
So the energy, it's all about the energy and living in the heart and keeping this connection with source open.
Yes.
It's if I'm going and talking and congested in thought, mind, and body, I'm not going to hear the voice of Creator. It's a very subtle voice. And it's a very beautiful connection.
Yeah. And it flows through people. That's the thing. It's not, people always say, oh, well, God talks to you. Well, God talks to everybody. You're just not listening, God doesn't have a voice. It has a voice through Linda, through Rebecca, through Jessica. You know what I'm saying? And for us to listen and not get addicted, I say addicted with the eyes of, oh, well, that's Linda, that's Rebecca. She can't know what God's saying. And, that's not true. I mean, when you shift that Hermetic aspect of ourselves into as above, so below, as within, so without, we are all connected. We are all the same, but we have unique traits, unique backgrounds, reasonings for doing certain things. And there's gold nuggets in everything that everybody says. And that is, to me, a beautiful way of seeing the world. It's not overwhelming at all. And to me, it goes back to what we were saying earlier about going to bed with questions, expecting the answers, because every single morning, like clockwork, they're there, whether it's something I read, something I was listening to, someone who called, someone who came to mind and I reached out. The answers are always there. It may not be what I want to hear, but that's normally when I know, oh, I got to do that.
I know when I hear, if I meet somebody and I think, oh, we're going to be doing this, but no, we're going to be doing that.
That's right.
I know it's right. Oh.
Or if it was something I did last week, I know, oh gosh, it's not it. It's a repeated pattern. Look for the new.
So when I ask a question, the response can come, as you were saying, in a song that comes on, as somebody could speak something, because communications come from other people. It could be something I see on television, something someone says and what you have to be open. I have to be open to the possibility. And then I run it through my heart. That seems to resonate, or it doesn't resonate. So the idea is the nuances are there. And I find, Rebecca, that as I grow, the nuances always change and the challenges become even more challenging because they're more subtle.
Yes.
And I have to pay attention.
Yes. Yes.
It's a lot of work, one might say. However, it's more like an adventure. And I think those on the spiritual path are the movers and the shakers.
Yes, it's becoming the norm, but it's not there yet. We're still few and far between. There's it's a very exciting time to be alive. That's the way I see it, because it is. I feel like the hard part is over. I think that there's been enough of us that have survived we now know what's needed, and it's going to get easier.
I think that's important for our listeners to know, because people are so if we focus on third dimension, we're going to be pulled and pushed, right? And I tell my clients, hang out in the love vibration, fourth, fifth, think, just lift yourself up, because otherwise you don't want to be in that angst. So as we hang out there, we're getting ready for a break. I'm a little my mind is in two places getting ready for the break, but I think it's important that people hear, because of all the things that are going on in the third dimension, that what you've just said, and what I agree with, that the worst is past and we're getting ready for a lot of love.
Yeah, something beautiful. I can see it. I can see it.
Well, with that, when we come back, you have a process called reunion. And this is going to be a very exciting discussion. So listeners, come back and listen up.
Okay.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host a program, Philanthropy in Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on talkradio.nyc.
Hi, I'm Linda Marsanico. The A Train to Sedona is a memoir about my journey to love and compassion. It's also the name of my new broadcast on Wednesdays at 12 noon. When we are spiritual, we embrace possibilities and ideas, which strengthen our mind, body, spirit, health, and wisdom. On the A Train to Sedona broadcast, I plan to interview guests who embrace these expansive practices. Join us on Wednesdays at 12 noon on Talk Radio New York City.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the A Train to Sedona broadcast. I'm Linda Marsanico, and my guest today is Rebecca Hillegeist. So, Rebecca, tell me about the reunion process. Is it something you discovered? Is it something that you were taught? And tell us what you know.
Okay, so I discovered the reunion process in 2007. So it was created by a gentleman named Peter Scuppum, and he's passed. He passed last year, but the way I understand it, and it's something that has been cultivated for many years, because in 2007, I became a client of his out of necessity. Okay. And we won't get into the reasonings behind that. It's a whole other episode. But I had spent a majority of my life in and out of counseling, coaching, all that, but needed something different. Okay. And so I discovered, a teacher, and he was, some would say a medicine man, some would say a shaman, some would say all kinds of things. I just knew that he helped heal my problems. Okay. I went to him. I was used to traditional therapy, and I went to his house. He laid me down on a massage table, and he would read these files, and he would tap on my head, and he would do traditional kinesiology, moving my arms and things like that. And so I thought he was a kook. But it worked. You know what I'm saying? And so then I was like, something to it. It just drawed my spirit in. And then he ended up giving a class, and, after like 4 or 5 months of me coming to him once a week. And so I learned the process myself, and it was in this huge book, like thousands of pages, and it was files. And he would always say that each file was pulling the tapestry of humanity, collective energy. And I learned kinesiology. I learned ancient hand modes because it used, at that point I was learning Reiki. It bypassed Reiki mastery. It was on a frequency level. It has resonant codes. So for all the Bach flower remedies for nutrients, there's hand gestures that you tap in, and it's a frequency that you breathe into the energy field. It has ancient hand modes. It has implants, which is ancient agreements, soul agreements that you have with beings, with people that you cycled in and out of life with. It could be, a spouse, a child, a past life, like we say, other lives. So it, like looking back over it, genetic codes, it deals with genetic codes. So looking back, it is a process that reconnects all the disassociated pieces of my life with your life. Okay. So, and I say that, I'm going to use you and I as an example, but I had to do it for myself personally. Okay. And so learning, because I've struggled with PTSD all my life. Okay. So in trauma recovery, we talk about disassociation and how the being works, or how we function in the world. If something triggers me, I'm going to disassociate because I'm not safe. And so I've had to learn, okay, this is my trigger, breathe. I'm not running from a tiger. Nobody's hurting me, that sort of thing. And so instead of having to work through those things, I've taken the reunion process a step further into the quantum field, because our fields meld when we're together. It can be through sexual, and I'm saying sexual energy, of creation energy. If I'm going to create this, I'm going to create this with Linda, I'm going to create this with Sam, I'm going to create this. And so our energy fields are melded together. Well, in order to unlearn, I had to do the reunion process to unlearn not just the patterns of the 3D, but of the quantum field. And then come back into the body and say, who am I now? You see, so each reunion session is, it ends a contract, which is an ancient agreement with whatever that quantum aspect is, to where, and I'm going to use you, where Linda in 3 days can realign and then go back out into her world, and then her energy is bigger. And that's where the empath comes in, because no longer, the average energy field is 6 feet, all the way around. Well, when you unlearn the quantum aspects of the disassociated pieces of who you're not through all lifetimes, you see, to come into the one, your energy field gets bigger. And you can be self-sustaining in a bigger aspect. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. The Heart Math Center in California did a lot of, and continues to do a lot of work on the heart field. And for someone who's very heart-based, the heart can go out very far.
Yes.
Very, very far.
Very far. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. So the quantum, so the disassociated pieces, so each reunion session realigns you with the highest aspect of you. That's what it is. And so I do that on an individual level. I can do that on a collective level. I've done it on businesses. I've done it on board of directors. I've done it on families. I've done it on weather patterns. It's interesting because it's all energy.
So when you're working with a group, are you working individually with one and then the other and then the other, or together in a group in a room, or not?
A group, like you can do a group reunion session, because if you look at it, if you have an intention, you know, everybody is attracted to everybody on some level for some reason. You see what I'm saying? So even from a business perspective, I can tell within one session, you know, where the bad seed is. And it's not necessarily that they're doing it on purpose. It's that unconscious shadow. You bring it to the light, and then it has to change. It levels up. So, you know, the executive people that I've worked with and used this process with, they would always get to a point of their business where it couldn't take off to the next level. Well, there was always someone, and it was normally someone close to them, and it just happened to be a spouse for the most part, a spouse or a secretary or somebody, you know, that was holding that density. But then if you can think about the Hermetic principles, as above, so below, there's always a shadow aspect of the greatness, you know, something that holds it back. What is that? And to find that out, then it changes the vibration, and then you bring in the new. And that's, yeah. So
That's
it's pretty
fascinating.
fascinating. And it puts words, you know, because even like with Reiki, you move energy, but you don't really know what you're moving. Reunion uses these aspects of moving the energy, but puts words to what was moved, to where the brain can consciously know what the patterns are, to where you don't recreate the pattern. How do you know what you're not recreating if you don't know what you're moving? You see, that was always my question in Reiki, because I'm like, wow, people get relief all the time, but what did I move? Why was it stuck to begin with? The brain always wants to know why. That's the human aspect. Yeah.
Very fascinating, Rebecca. We have just a few minutes. I had some other questions, but I don't know that we have time for them. So tell me, how can people get in touch with you?
I have Facebook. I have Instagram. I do have, I mean, people just find me. That's the thing. So, I mean, I have the social media links. I don't do much with it. But I do know that when people are ready for what I have to offer, they always find me. So if you can hear my voice and you resonate with me, then reach out. I mean, everything I do is remote. I can do Zoom. I can do reunion sessions. I call it fast food healing, which is really not. But, you know, an example is I can do the energy work behind the scenes, email a summary, and then we have a conversation about what happened. You can carry on with your life. So it's like you don't have to be fully aware, because it is quantum work. So I put the words to it, you would read it, and then we'd have a conversation about it. And then the body it takes, you know, anywhere from 3 to 7 days for the body to catch up, kind of thing, because it's a conscious thing. We're in, some people want to say, an experiment of consciousness. Well, you have to know what you're doing. And so this is part of the process of putting words to the energy. And people, you know, people want to say, you know, in Atlantis, we could just manifest things and not have to speak. Well, we're humans. Humans speak. And it's better when we use our words. So, you know, are we here to just move a bunch of energy? No, we're here to learn the words and to learn to communicate. So that's part of the challenge. It's definitely part of my challenge. I'd much rather move the energy.
Well, you're on LinkedIn, Facebook, and in our show notes, people can find all of your links. Do you have a website? I don't think you have a website, but I found you on LinkedIn. The executive producer was in the process of contacting me about you, and I found you just before Sam reached out to tell me to be in contact with you.
Yes. And so when the time is right, people find me. So yes.
Any last words of encouragement for our listeners, Rebecca?
I would like to do this again, but I would like to do it, you know, talking more of the encouragement part, because life is really hard right now for many, many people.
Yes.
And so even though I've lived through a bunch of stuff, I don't like talking about the junk. I want to encourage people. It's not as hard as what it appears. And so that's part of I think the support that people need is just to know that, hey, it's going to be okay. Everything, every day truly is new, and a lot, and probably with your listeners, a lot of the things that they're feeling is probably not even theirs. I can guarantee you a majority of these people are empaths and they just don't know what's theirs and what's not. That's a whole other thing. And I could even do a Zoom on that to teach people. I've done that many times, but that's a hard lesson to learn when you're in the midst of just junk, because it's so overwhelming. It's very overwhelming.
There's so much junk around in the third dimension. Yes, there are times when I think, well, this can't be mine. Something's coming upon me, and I think, oh, and then I have to, then I lift the energy.
Yeah. And if you don't have time, in your day to do that, it can take you out. Like it's very overwhelming.
It's and uncomfortable as well. So I want to thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
And listeners, next week, come back and visit me on the A Train to Sedona. Have a wonderful week.
Bye, Linda. Thank you.
Bye-bye, Rebecca.